guys, my name is Hazel Najinda and I'm the founder of Climate Operations. So basically what we are doing today is that we are planting 300 trees with the mission of promoting agroforestry. We are planting indigenous trees which are going to be really good for the soil health, but they're also going to rejuvenate this farm where we are planting all these trees. So that is basically why we are here. We have been joined by the team from the Loud Project, by Tibubuisa and company advocates, and we're really having a lot of fun.
Hi everybody, my name is Hans and I'm the founder of the Loud Project. Basically what the Loud Project is a platform that lends itself, or we lend our platform to activists creating change around poverty, gender equality, menstrual management, hygiene and climate action. But then we also do events, and the proceeds from these events go back to helping these said activists. Today we actually came in as a supporting entity for climate operations because, like I said, we do content and at the same time we also do events. So we've been handling a lot of climate operations content. But then we're also partnering with them for their Art Month activities. So we've been training them to so many activities, planting trees, giving kids education. I remember last week we did a session where kids were painting what they imagine is killing animals in the sea. So yeah, we've just been supporting climate operation on their Art Month.
Well, it's a department to Tibubuisa and company advocates that's corporate social responsibility, but mostly focusing on the environment. Climate operations started after me realizing that Ugandans are either ignorant about the climate crisis or they just really don't care about it. And of course I was asking myself, how are we going to create solutions when we actually don't even know the problem? So that is how the idea of climate operation came about. And then I was also acknowledging the fact that it shouldn't just be about giving information, but we should also kind of be fun. And that is why we also added tree planting activities. Like, you see what's happening here, people that have come, they're having fun, they're learning about soil health. So that was actually the major motivation with what we are doing. And so far we have visited 5 schools, educated 500 children, planted 250 trees. With here planting 300 trees, those are now maybe 550 trees, and we're really having fun. We are seeing the impact it's having on people's personal habits, but also in the way that they connect with nature. And like, for example, someone was saying this is the first time they have planted a tree, so it's really amazing. So that's where our climate operation actually started from.
The Loud Project. I remember I was volunteering for a few huge organizations working around SRHR. So I just didn't really like the way they were working. The impact they were affecting was a disconnect between ordinary people, because ordinary people couldn't help. Yet I used to meet people who were like, hey, so you're working with those guys, can I help? And like, people couldn't really get on board. But then also the places we used to go and then the impact, after a few months, there's no impact. I just didn't really feel it. So then I sat down with a few people and we came up with this, a way to get ordinary people to get involved in charity. Hands-on.
I will speak for lawyers. We use a lot of paper, and that is a lot of environmental damage without that we need to be able to find ways of giving back and promoting environmental conservation. So they need to get involved. Wherever you remove, whatever you're using, just be cautious about it and what impact it has to the environment, and see what you can do. Even if it's just planting 100 trees, it will take you less than 3 hours, and you're creating an impact for a lifetime.
Yeah, but we need to own our world and make the best of it. So as you do this, even if it's not give back, because you understanding that this world is because certain people need certain things. And so if we do not purpose, and we are all cutting down the trees for one reason or another. So if we don't purpose replant them, then what's going to happen to our world?
Even before I started doing music, I'd always been doing like community work. I guess just to find my place, in the world. I felt like it just felt easy to help people. It made me feel good about myself. It made me feel like I have purpose, and I think that's the most important thing. People shouldn't mistake it for anything else. Helping people should give you purpose, whatever you do, you should be able to help other people. And as soon as I figured that out for myself, I've been doing that. And I guess meeting with the team from the Loud Project and Climate Operation and any other organization I've worked with or I'm working with, it's been just fate for me, you know. My friends and family know how important this kind of work is, so they're always introducing me to people.
One, I think it's relevant to plant trees because trees sequestrate carbon and they release oxygen. So if I'm being honest, as human beings, we need trees to survive. So that's why it's important to plant trees, and it's also really dangerous to cut down trees. The reason as to why right now we're having a lot of landslides, a lot of soil erosion in farms is because most of the trees that were planted have been cut down. So our grounds are very vulnerable to harsh climate systems that are happening right now. There's also something that's happening because of the fact that trees have been cut down. There's no rainfall, and that's bringing about a lot of desertification. So that is why, for example, Climate Operation, whenever we go to schools, we always want to plant fruit trees because we know that most children rely on schools for food. So when we plant fruit trees, we are not only educating them about climate change and its intersection, but then we are also helping them actually get food. Of course, the trees might grow in 3 years to come, but it will be really good for their food insecurity. Right now, what's happening is that most Ugandans are planting grafted trees because they grow faster. But something they don't know is that the moment you plant a grafted tree, like for example, you plant a grafted mango tree, it's going to fruit really quickly. But the moment you cut it down, you're not going to plant that tree again, which is different from indigenous trees. When you plant an indigenous tree, it's going to be there time immemorial, 100 years. And that's why we always want to plant indigenous trees, because they are promoting sustainability. We're not promoting something where we're always going to have to be cutting down trees and then replanting. We want to plant trees and they stay there. Because we want the wood from the trees, we can just prune them, but we never cut down the tree. And that's the beauty with indigenous trees. They always remain. And for example, there are certain indigenous trees, when you plant them and they actually throw the seeds on the ground, those seeds grow on themselves, something that has happened with grafted trees. So that is why we're always planting indigenous trees. We are promoting sustainability as well as the longevity that the trees are going to provide in the long run to the future generations that we are actually really fighting for. Right now, Climate Operation gets its trees from Roofings Limited, which is in Lubowa, because we're very inspired by what Roofings is doing with promoting indigenous agriculture and the trees that they are actually growing. So in case someone wants to get indigenous trees, and not just indigenous trees, but trees that promote soil health, I would advise them to go to Roofings, Forever Forestry. They are the people that have been giving us these trees, educating us as well, because I personally, as a person, before I started Climate Operation, I really didn't know much about trees and basically farming. But with Roofings and their team, I've been educated on the types of trees that grow in certain areas, the types of trees that are going to be good for a farm, for the soil, for a school as well. So I would advise whoever wants an indigenous tree to actually go to Roofings, Forever Forestry. That's where they'll get very good indigenous trees. People should care, because if I'm being honest with you, Kara, we are literally facing the impacts of climate change, but we just don't know that we are facing them. And then to make things worse is that human practices are worsening that, like for example, industrialization. With industrialization comes pollution. That pollution is impacting people's health. Because of climate change, our weather patterns are very destabilized. This is bringing about food insecurity. Farms, people would have already started planting right now, but because they can't plant because it's too hot, they actually have to wait. So that is why we should care, because we not only look at health, but we are actually losing money because of climate change. So that's why I think we should care. And as the international and the mainstream media keeps saying, we are doing this for our future generations, but in our context of Uganda, I think it's happening to us now. So that's why for us, we need to be looking at solutions right now instead of thinking about people who are let's say 3 years old. And also, to make things, I would say, worse, in 20 years time we'll be the adults and they'll be blaming us for not doing anything, just like how we are blaming the adults for not doing anything. So that's why we should care about it.
People are always like, we can't make a difference, climate change is happening, if it's happening then we can't make a difference. People want governments to make the difference, people want big corporations to make the difference. But I feel like what's bigger than these corporations is us. We create demand for these corporations. We create demand for fuel, cars, we buy the cars, we use the cars. We demand water in water bottles because of its convenience. So, I mean, I feel like it's a two-way street, if that makes sense. So, shifting the blame to these big corporations, shifting the blame to someone else, I don't think it's the solution. This world isn't the government's world. This world isn't, it's not the corporation's world. This is our world. This is my world. This is your world. This is your children's world. This is our future, the future of our race, and the future of everything else that's here.
That's with you. So you have to be that change. For example, if you want to see a greener country, you can't be littering. If you litter, then you expect the climate to be okay. It's just that it makes sense. Change starts with you, so be that change.
Advice I would give to someone who wants to become more sustainable but wants to avoid greenwashing: do your research. When you look at, for example, you want to buy a bottle of shampoo and they are saying it's organically made, look at it. Is this company that's actually providing this shampoo, are they sustainable? Who are the people they are funding? Are they funding fossil fuel industries? Are they funding the fast fashion industry? Because fast fashion also contributes to climate change. And then I think personally, I would say as an African, because to a point, we do not have enough money, I think it would be like, for example, when it comes to buying clothes, you can reuse clothes, you can buy second-hand clothes instead of buying clothes. Like, for example, something like sustainable fashion. Sustainable fashion is very expensive, it's very elitist. So I'd obviously advise someone who wants to, like, for example, do something in regards to their consumerism. Just reduce on what you are doing. And then with greenwashing, always do your research. Don't just buy because someone has said something is sustainable. Like what I was saying about sustainable fish. The brands that are saying that the fish has been sustainably gotten, those are the same companies that are pumping money into these industries, these fishery companies that are actually getting all of the fish with all the bycatch, which is actually bring about the depletion in the biodiversity in the sea. So you always just have to do your research to avoid greenwashing. Local brands are really sustainable. Most of them are, so far all the local brands that I've seen are always trying to promote sustainability. Most of them, like for example in Uganda, most of our, like for example, the people that sell food, they are not commercialized. They mostly come, they basically farm to store. They come to the farm, get the crops, put them on their store. So it's always good to actually support local, to buy local and to support the local people, because those are people that are actually the most sustainable in the way that they are kind of like bringing us products. They are, of course, the end goal is always money, but at least what they are doing is not the massive consumerism, and like their degradation is not as much as what's happening with the big companies in the world right now. So I would always encourage people to actually support local people, the people that are like in their neighborhoods, the people in the market, instead of like, for example, buying international products. Here in Uganda we have our own products. Support a local person that's because it's full and good, but I would advise them to always do their research on what they want to consume and what they actually want to buy, so that they avoid also playing a part in this rainbow environment.
Pick up a tree seedling, plant trees. If you're gonna cut down trees, plant 3 to replace it at least. You know, pick up the plastic, recycle, reuse. These are just habits that we can build within ourselves. I can't say I've always been this kind of person, but I've seen the importance for myself, and I've realized it's something I have to do and I have to teach others. So, and there's so many people who are doing it like on a grander scale than us here. So we should just pick up and just try our best. Yeah.
One, you can volunteer with us. We always love for volunteering with us, because we're always trying to ensure that as many people actually join in with what we are doing. Like what you did here, people came, we planted trees. Then the second thing they can do is that they can donate to our cause, because as I was telling you, we want to continue going to other districts. We are done with Kampala, we are going to the west, the east, Jinja, going up. So we want to continue going to schools and farms, so they can donate to the cause. Another thing they can do is that we can collaborate. We're always looking for new ideas to implement that are in line with our vision. So all these are the ways in which people can actually work with us. We are going to resume our projects in June. We are going to go to the east because that is our next trajectory. We have done quite amazing work in Kampala, so we now want to start going up. We're active on Instagram at Climate Operation. We are open to collaborations that are of course in line with our mission, which is climate-based education and regenerative farming practices. So that's something that we're really passionate about. Then you can also send us an email at climateoperation12@gmail.com. I think those are 2 places people can find us. And of course, you could always just give us a ring. Obviously, if you send us an email, then we shall actually get in contact with you faster. But we're always open to collaborating with people because I believe that right now, I don't know everything that's happening. I don't know what's happening in certain countries, in certain districts. So actually getting in touch with someone that has seen what's happening there and that the help that they need specifically, I would always love to work with someone like that because it's always good to engage more grassroots people because I don't understand I'm the only environmentalist in Uganda that's doing this. There's so many people in Uganda doing these things. So always getting in touch with such people is such an inspiration, and it actually encourages me that we are not in this alone because I was chatting with someone and they were saying it looks like the policy makers, the old people, they seem not to care and they're not going to do anything. So us as young people, we have to bootstrap ourselves and do something because no one is going to do it for us. So always getting in touch with such people, and usually if it's a young person, I'm always so inspired to actually work with them.
The basis of our platform is we don't actually do the charity, we don't actually do the change. We are sort of a go-between activists and ordinary people. This is reflected throughout everything we do. All our events is we have musicians, we work with musicians. Some of them are here right now, Lamu. We work with musicians, so what we do is we bridge the gap between activists and ordinary people. So since we handle menstrual management hygiene, we know so many activists working around that, and since we concurrently run programs around climate and menstrual management hygiene and everything else, a few people were like, how can I donate? And we came up with the idea, you should actually donate pads so we can, for your birthday if you want to. So we're actually pretty open to that. The only problem is with the pandemic going, we don't really want to engage so much in community outreaches because it's kind of risky right now. So that's why we put a stop to that. But as soon as this is resolved, I don't know when, we shall be back with that. So yeah, it's pretty much open to anybody that feels they can. Previously, we used to engage in a lot of outreaches. We used to fundraise and call as many people as we could to our outreaches because we felt there's a disconnect between bigger organizations and community engagement. So we were opening up the space. But after the pandemic, we had to readjust, and one of our core values is events. So we are now pretty much concentrating on that. And right now, as I speak, we are organizing a virtual concert on our website. So we've not yet officially released the lineups and everything, but it's a work in the pipeline. So this should be in August. So just watch out for that.
If you're out there and you want to be part of a community, the best place to do that is to go on social media, because, for example, something like the Loud Project, it was built on social media. They've been able to build this huge community of social media. They've been able to connect with people from across the world doing so many different things. Social media, definitely. And I would advise whoever is watching this video to reach out to the Loud Project. They can reach out to the Loud Project because they have a wide network. The Loud Project has you, so just reach out to them and I'm sure they'll find a place for you somewhere. So
I feel less guilty
That's good. Why?
because I put some good out in the world, so we'll have to come back someday for the future generations.
Amen.
It's a nice thing to plant trees. I've never planted anything. These are good vibes. This is the first time I've planted anything, and yeah, I'm happy with myself. Yeah. Very exhilarating. Yeah, it is. It's exhausting, but it gives a sense of accomplishment. Like I've also done something. Yeah. This orchard 5 years later, you're like, I'm proud. Yeah, you can point to something, and you know it did something positive for the climate. Because we hear so many stories about climate climate change, things are going downhill very fast. But if you're doing something positive, it's a good thing for once. Amazing, great, messy, but
I know.
in a good way. We're glad to be here. We're glad that there are people to offer their land for such amazing stuff for one. So it's been an exciting morning. And I think for me it's been exciting that we're planting fruits and trees. Because I mean, if you're doing fruits, you get all the benefits of the fruits and you get fruit. Yeah. I can imagine what a blessing this place will be to the community, especially the kids, knowing that they have all these fruits. It's really an orchard more than a forest. It has been our first outreach. Thanks to Hazel, thank you. And her team. For many of us here, it was our first time planting trees. Anything. It has been amazing. Yeah, so we are willing to, not willing, we are ready to do this again. Yeah, we are going to do it again. Yeah, we're looking forward to again and again.